Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Out Loud. I'm Junie Moon, and I am your host. And this is the place I've created where I get to talk to some amazing leaders in our lifetime that are making a difference in people's lives. Really cool people. And I will certainly not disappoint you today with the person I have on the show. She is just the most real, down-to-earth, oh gosh, powerful, wonderful, amazing person that I have the blessing to have as a friend. I've had her as a coach, and it was a no-brainer to have her on the show. And I'll read her bio in a second. I just want to let you know that we're going to go for about 30, 40 minutes. The chat box is open. Yes, I'm learning technology. So if you've tried to chat box me in the last few episodes and it didn't work, well, sorry. Yeah, learn it as I go. But it's open, and you are welcome to ask a question, and we'll invite you to ask questions if we remember to ask you to put some questions in. But you are welcome to, and we're thrilled to have you. And we are going to dive in and have a real conversation about life and all that it has to offer. So let me tell you about my guest. My guest is Anastasia Netri. She's in the house, and she calls herself the Miracle Transformation Specialist. Wow, really, and she is. Okay, Anastasia Netri is an unconventional spiritual teacher and founder of the Miracle Makers program. She works with women to help them awaken to who they truly are, which pretty much means that they can actually have what it is that they really want. And guys, if you're here, and I know you are, there'll be lots of golden nuggets for you too. Back to her bio. Most of the women that Anastasia works with have a deep desire to change the world or express themselves in some new way. And through the work they do with her, that dream becomes a reality, for sure. I know that firsthand. Anastasia has a colorful way of teaching that makes her fun to listen to, for sure. And you could begin to shift and transform on the spot with her. You could find her at her website, which I'm going to just punch in right now, which is www.badassmiracles.com. Check it out. It's in the chat box now. And so we are live with Anastasia Netri. Welcome, Anastasia. Let's get you on. Yes, there's the amazing miracle worker. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm really glad to be here and really glad to be talking about what we're talking about today. I think it's going to be an enlightening show. I just love that we're doing this, and I love that you're doing this, and so thank you.
You are welcome. I mean, we've had a lovely ride together. When I didn't know Anastasia 2 years ago, and then I started following her and saw that not only was she an amazing business coach, she knew business like so well and how to get people to flourish in their business, but she just, I'll speak to you since you're here, talk about this person, Anastasia. You hold a space of such truth and such depth and create a container for people to just really show up with whatever it is. And so I had hired for a business coach, and she helped me so much with my business. And there was another ingredient that made it just so special, which is her ability to spot things, like the shadow stuff that we talk about what's getting in our way, being able to be vulnerable to what's going on inside. Because if we're not able to really be truthful about what's really happening inside, you can know all you want about business and it ain't gonna do squat. So you're the queen, man. I have to lean down because I dropped my page.
It's okay. I'm actually going to adjust my camera. It's interesting. I think through the years, as I've done different types of coaching, just one more time, I've sort of realized it's like when I was business coaching, I think I had to do that because I love talking about business, and it's a creative process, and it's fun to watch things manifest and all of that good stuff. And I'm good at it. I've got a good head for it. But at the same time, I got to see that in most cases, the skill set of business wasn't actually the big issue. It was more of like an alignment thing, and it was a belief in oneself kind of thing. And I started to realize, like, I really want to work on the level of foundation, things that are going to actually set somebody up for a certain amount of success, whatever that means to you. And then, I still do some business coaching with clients when it's appropriate. Like, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and sometimes it's like we'll work with their perceptions and do some transformational stuff, and then it comes up that we end up talking about a business message, and it's really fun because then there's not much in the way. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I switched. And years and years ago, I was a massage therapist, and it was kind of the same thing. It was like, after working on people for years on my table, I was like, gee, I really want to get them before it turns into a giant knot on their shoulder. It's like sort of work, like, and I think that's how it's been in my own life, which is why I like to work with people like that. Because it's like, I tend to go underneath the surface a lot. And I feel like that's the areas that are the most interesting to me, is the ones underneath the surface. So, so here we go. And I think we got a lot to talk about today. So yeah.
Yes, we do have a lot to talk about. And so here you are going under the surface. You've been intuiting going under the surface. And the only way to really know, in my opinion, how to go under the surface is to live it, to really understand this journey and what's going on inside. And you have been on a journey. You have evolved and shifted and changed, and you still are. And I really would love for you to take a little time to talk about your journey and some of the spiritual myths you've come across, and enlighten us, hon.
Yeah, actually, that's really good, the way that you are introducing this, is like, tell my journey. I like that. It's like, share the myths through sharing my journey of realizing that they were myths, because that's kind of true. It really started. I'll kind of give you the sum up on like how it all began. But I was doing a lot of business coaching last year. We were working together, and it was. I finally kind of hit this place where I got everything that I thought that I wanted. I had, I was making plenty of money. I had a week off every month. I had a nice big house that I lived in, some good friends. And it was really kind of starting to be around April, like May, I started to go, I'm not actually any happier. The illusion started to fall down that all this external stuff was going to make me happy. And I didn't even know, because I had been so focused on it for so long and working so hard for so long. And, and then, I started to ask questions, especially about abundance, because I was like, clearly I don't understand abundance, because no matter how much shit I had, I still never felt full or secure or fulfilled. It was almost like the more I had, the more I was just afraid I was going to lose it. Like, the scarcity never went away. And I started to get really curious, and I would talk to people about it, and I was asking questions, and I would go to parties, and I would be like, what is abundance? Like, how do you define that? And I got all these different definitions, but what I found was that a lot of people equated abundance with plenty of, like, kind of interchangeable, like an abundance of stuff. Money was plenty of, and that's, this is kind of how I feel like sometimes the sometimes the ego sort of hijacks these spiritual concepts and, of course, turns them into stuff that's more ego-based. And so I felt like what happened to me is that I had, through this exploration, and then I hired somebody to work with me, and she was great. And I had a big awakening in August, and it was like, oh, like it just, it
This was last
2014.
August, right? Yeah,
Yes,
I just wanted to
August
give people a time frame.
August 2014. And it was like, there was a lot to that awakening, but there was kind of a central message, which is stop resisting who you actually are. And of course, the unfolding of what that means keeps unfolding, right? The who I actually am. It's like, you know, because before it's like, oh, I actually am a spiritual teacher. I actually am blah, 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 blah. And of course, the more that I question what I am, the more none of that stuff even fits the way it did last year. But it really started me on a journey of letting go of things that no longer felt like a good fit. And what was really scary about it was that I was letting go of something, which was, you know, kind of my financial bread and butter, if you will. And I was going to be starting up something new, and I didn't know what the new thing was. And you know how when you're an entrepreneur, if you stop selling stuff, you stop making money? Well, that's kind of what happened. And so I went from being sort of uber financially secure to spending months like, am I going to get the rent paid this month? Is this the month I'm going to hit zero? And it was kind of a tough transition, because I had my well-meaning, you know, 6-figure plus business coach friends just be like, why don't you just do some VIP days or just do blah, 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 blah? Because I've got a list and I'm known for a certain thing. And so it was an interesting thing that it wasn't that I couldn't make any money. It was that I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't sell something that didn't feel, I couldn't tell someone that my business coaching was their magic pill anymore. Like that just didn't feel right to me. I was like, you know, I can teach you skills, but they're not going to guarantee anything. So I didn't believe in it anymore. And I want
to ask you a question about that. Because here you were having a very successful practice. And you were living in what you considered abundance, right?
Yes.
And then suddenly you're in this isn't feeling right, and you started asking these questions, and you get into this space. Someone actually told me this the other day. It was the first time I actually heard this about one door closing, the concept of the next door opening. Heard that, but that there's this corridor, you know, that there's this hallway between the door that's about to open. And sometimes when we're in that hallway, it could be dark, it could be challenging, painful, scary, a million things. And you were in the corridor. You wanted to be in alignment with your, you know, what was integrity for you. You didn't want to just put out VIP days, but you didn't know your next thing. And so many people I talk to are in the corridor waiting for that next wave of inspiration or that next bright light to say, oh, that's what it is. So how did you get through? What was it that held you, helped you, guided you to be able to open that next door until you opened that next door?
You know, okay, that's a really good question, and it's kind of I'm going to give you my best answer, which I you know, I hope this is a good answer. It's because it's not like here's what. Okay, I think this is often sort of how everybody wants to go, well, how did you do it? Like what, you know, and inside of that question, sometimes there's like, you know, tell me the 5 steps so I can get out of the corridor. And there's the thing about it is it's just like, this is what I found out. We'll go ahead and reveal the abundance myth. Okay. So the abundance myth is that abundance just means, the word abundance means a lot of. And I'm not saying it doesn't mean that. I'm saying it doesn't only mean that, okay? But what I found was that abundance is an energy. Abundance is a belief that all of your needs, everything will be met if you're just kind of following your honest, true love-based desires, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so it's almost like the how really, I guess, was like there was just this total refusal on my part to do anything other than what meant something to me. And it was also like I was kind of taking actions. Like I started up this badass miracle academy, and it was this online thing, and it was great, and it was a good chance for me to like get my spiritual teacher on and do a little preaching, which I love. And but then it's like in the doing it, I'm like, I want more. I want deeper. And so that action step revealed something else, and then that action step revealed something else. And so it was just more like this emerging of something. And I think kind of here's the thing. It's like there was an emerging of an idea. And then I think I'm going to give myself big props here, because what I did was I listened and I acted on it, which didn't always make sense and wasn't always easy to do. But that's how I, it's not like I'm completely out of the corridor. I mean, I think it's but the point is that I feel like what keeps people stuck most of the time is not that they don't know what to do. It's that they're getting they're getting the hit, and then it may not make sense to the logical mind. And
the thing that you said about the listening, and like you're using your arms like that. I mean, as you talk, I totally agree with you. It's there's no to do. Right. There is an allowing. There's an allowing. Right. There's a surrendering. There's a little bit of a trust fall that there's something else going on here, and that if we listen carefully, if we really go in, we'll know. Like one of the things I think you said in your video the other day, which was great. Go to her website, see her video about trust. It's like truth. If it's truth, it feels good, and to be able to really allow that to sink in. I think so much of why we're stuck, and I'm there a lot of the time is I'm trying to control, I'm trying to figure it out, I'm trying to do the to-do, and then it's like, wait a second, let me take a breath. Like just a half hour before our show, I was like, okay, I'm a little, I'm pumped, I'm excited, some fear. What am I going to do? It's like I sat on my cushion and I just breathed and said, surrender, I am held, allow it to flow, because I'm not driving this ship. And as long as I think I'm driving this ship, it's really hard. And I do feel stuck when I'm like, gotta figure this out. And that was one of the things you helped me a lot with, was a reminder of, Junie, it's not the software that's going to help you make money and get new clients and build your business. It's you. Trust, right?
That's really well said. And I think, the allowing and the trusting thing is, for those of you who are maybe asking the question of like, well, how do I do that? Like that's another show that we could do on that.
Okay, let's get it on the calendar.
Because it's not. I will say it's like, and like when you're talking about control, I think it's more of like what a lot of people want, and I totally get this, is like, I want to know before I make a decision. I want to know the thing that's going to happen 5 steps ahead. So if I know that I'm making the right decision, and that's kind of the illusion. It's like, and so I think one of the things now when I work with people, it's like, as you're holding someone's hand, and it's like, let's follow, like, because it's almost impossible to do this stuff on your own. It's like, so let's take a step. And then when you take that step, when you're 10 feet down the road, you're going to see things that you don't see where you are right now. And that's kind of the unfolding of life. And I feel like that's what abundance actually is. It's a letting go. And it's interesting because I was talking to a client about this yesterday. It's like there's this, think of the infinity symbol. It's like there's kind of a process of discovery and creation sort of all happening at one time. It's like what I found is that a lot of times people want to do one or the other. It's like, I want to find out who I am, or I don't need to find out, I just need to create. And it's like, no, it's yes, and it's both. It's like we discover, and what we discover helps us create, and what we create helps us discover. And these two energies really feed nicely into each other. And it's sort of like a leaning into this process. But as far as like how to do that, like that's a different thing for each person. That's what I found is like each person has their own individual way of, how they lean in and how that looks.
Absolutely.
Know what I mean? Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting, the paradox here that we're talking about abundance and we're talking about letting go at the same time. It's like we have to allow that to be and empty out and trust in the mystery in order to really feel the fullness of this experience we called life. And so that infinity that you just described about the discovery and the creation, you need to let go to be able to open up to the possibilities, which of course you talk a lot about with reframing, which is the miracle. When you're able to see things differently, then you could rewire, reshape, let it go, which is what we do in shadow work. Once you could see it, own it, change it, suddenly something else can just be breathed in and things can shift. So tell us another myth. I'm looking at the time. We got a lot to do. Tell us another myth.
Okay, good. Well, this is actually, there's a couple things I want to say. God, all right. Let's actually talk about the law of attraction. This is one of my favorites. And again, I want to say it's like with each one of the kind of the revealing of the myth, it's like, I think what I'm introducing here is these things might just be a little bit bigger than you think they are. So, like abundance is it's not that it's not plenty of, but that's just not all it is. It may be like this much, where the abundance, what the energy is like this. And it's kind of like with the law of attraction and like, spiritual teachers. I mean, this is really out there where, you go online and you see a program that's going to teach you how to manifest. And I kind of get where teachers are coming from with that, because what they're really talking about is like manifesting what you want and what you don't want. But I feel like one of the issues with that is that, first of all, you don't need to learn how to manifest. I just wrote a blog post about this. Like, you don't need to learn how to manifest any more than you need to learn how to breathe. Like, you are manifesting, you are doing it. And what's interesting is that, again, the ego, which is the sort of illusion of separation, it can hijack these concepts and turn it into, let me put it this way. If you are saying that you want, A, but you're manifesting B, and you're saying, well, I don't want that, so I need to go learn how to manifest, the perception that you're operating from with that kind of thought pattern is that you are powerless and that you have to learn how to be powerful, which that right there is an error in thinking. That's not. So it's like the whole reason you're setting out to learn something is based on an idea that's not true. And that can be the problem with going into a teaching of the law of attraction, is that if you're headed into that teaching already under the illusion that you're not powerful, then you're probably not going to end up getting what you want from the teaching. And another kind of thing about it is that there's a lot of judgment on this actually isn't what I want. And if I was, if I was doing it right, if I was in alignment, I would have, $1 million in the bank, and, a rich guy with a, 10-inch and a trust fund. And that's what my life would look like. You know what I mean? Like, that's what my life would look like. And if I'm not doing it right, then I'm clearly, and so.
And that's aside from what we just went there, where we just went, the whole thing of shame, and how that, here we are wanting to manifest the idea of talking to these teachers, learning from these teachers about manifesting, and that it's, like you said, it's already happening, that, there's this implied something is wrong, that you're doing something wrong if it doesn't happen. And that's the slippery slope, I believe, with law of attraction completely, is what's the old messages? What's the old wiring that's saying we can't do it, that we don't deserve it, that we're not good enough? And we could, have all the affirmations we want and say we want something, but if underneath those messages are still there saying it's not going to happen for you, or it's too scary, don't go there, it's like, we need to address that. So it's we need to look at both of them, but to know what I'm hearing from you, which is so great, is everything. I always say we just got to clean off some of the gook off of our souls so that we really can step into the magnificence that, that we are.
Yeah, I mean,
there's something you don't agree with. I can tell by your tone.
I mean, I think what I'm saying is, like, okay, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example from my own life. Okay, so throughout this year, as my business has transitioned, I've had financial issues for the first time in years, right? And there was, I noticed that sometimes what my mind was doing is like, okay, I'm going to draw a little picture because I like drawing pictures.
I like pictures.
Okay. So it's like, here's you. Okay.
You know what? I can't see it. Oh, wait a second. If you hold it still and then it, yep. Oh, okay. There's me. I have curly hair though, but okay. I'll let it go.
Okay. This is kind of for all the listeners, but yeah, that's more you, Junie. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Big
okay.
Smile.
So this is like I'm just going to call this, well, here, I'll just draw a circle. This is the egoic ideal. Okay. So this is kind of like you and your egoic ideal. This is who you are. This is who you think that you should be.
Yep, the shoulds. Yep.
Right? Okay, Now what happens is there becomes this thing that we now refer to as a block.
Yep.
Okay, so there's this, there's something in between me and my ego ideal, right? And so interestingly enough, this is an illusion, and if this is an illusion, if this actually doesn't exist, then what is this? And so it's interesting because I'm not saying like, I definitely feel like there's, you've got to take steps to getting conscious, and you've got to look at some of this stuff, look at some of the ideals that you've created. And that's all part of like kind of seeing the ego ideal for what it is. But it's interesting because there's this idea. I guess what I'm trying to say is this. When I realized, like when I was sitting there having some money stuff, it's like the kind of the first thought is I'm doing something wrong, or there's some gook that I have to clear off, or something like that. And so that immediately starts a certain relationship that I have with myself, which is where I think
where there's something wrong, which is what we're saying isn't.
I mean, and again, it's like, so once I started to look at like, okay, clearly this financial issue that I'm having is something that I really want. it's something that's serving me, because I wouldn't be calling in anything other than something that's helping me in some way. It's like there's no conspiracy against me out here or in here ever. And so the more I looked, the more I saw, I mean, it was like this list of all these rich things that I actually wanted, that this experience was giving me. And so I tell people all the time, it's like we can judge a miracle or a good thing sometimes way too superficially. It's got to meet into our ideal. And I think it's like if we start to look at like even with the like shadow work and stuff like that is so great, but it's more like, let's go in and look at, okay, I kind of describe it to my clients like this all the time. I was like, what transformation is very simple. And I know you agree with this. It's like separating truth from lies. That's it. That's all it's doing. It's like when you see what's true and what's a lie, then and only then do you have the power of choice. So I think one of the things about going into to explore the shadow is for the reason of going, oh, this is not true. You know what I mean?
Even our belief systems. I mean, one of the beliefs you just said, which is, you know, this stuff is happening for me. This is, you know, all these things that are happening, they're giving things to me. And that's a belief. And I'm on with you with that belief, but it is a belief. And for people to really start questioning, what is it they really believe around their circumstances, around what it is that they're really wanting for themselves. Because at the beginning, is it truth or is it? I think that's like, it's so fundamental. Let's, it's, believe it or not, it's 3:30. So, is there anything else that you wanted to share about being in the flow? You're about to sell, you know, leave your house, go on the road, have no agenda whatsoever. Talk about like stepping into the unknown. Being in the flow is, I'm sure you could speak of that. And anything else you'd like to share right now before we talk about what you have on your website?
Sure. Well, that's actually kind of lead us into the whole follow your bliss thing.
I mean, because follow your bliss. I said be in the flow.
Yeah, same thing. Well, it's interesting because I'm actually getting ready to give my leases up in December, and I've been sort of toying around with the idea for months of what I'm going to do, and then I decided that I'm going to give most of my stuff away and pack my car and flip a coin, and that's what I'm going to do. And part of it is just this kind of joyful experience of really leaning in and seeing what happens, and taking, you know, that whole trust thing just out for a fun kind of roller coaster ride. And you know, I feel like the myth on following your bliss, and I'll say this quickly, the myth on following your bliss is that if I'm following my bliss, I'll be ecstatically happy every day. Boy, if you believe that, you are really setting yourself up for a big letdown. Because it's, you know, following your bliss, what I've experienced and sort of seen as I've live this thing is all following your bliss means is, if you ask me, is making decisions from love and not fear. But the kind of the reality of it is that most of us make most of our decisions from fear, very few of them from love. And so making decisions from love sometimes feels quite edgy and radical to do, and in some cases will be the thing that feels a bit scary, because that following that love and following that desire is like going to be asking you to let go of a lot of stuff, and let go of a lot of stories and old habits and beliefs, and move into a place of trust and move into the unknown, and the bliss will take you on the most wonderful ride of your life, and it will be full of the rainbow of emotion and life experience. And
I just love that. That was just so beautiful.
Thank you.
How you just said that. And here you are. I mean, of all the people I know, talk about really following your bliss and leaning into it. I think that's another big thing is, can we allow ourselves to be uncomfortable a little bit? Can we allow ourselves to be vulnerable? Because that's the juicy place. That's the place where we like open up to the beauty and the wonder of this world. So one last question before we talk about your website, because I really want to know, how are you with your fear in this moving out of your house and into this unknown? Because one of the things about you and myself is we play with fear. We dance with fear. It doesn't stop us, but it can be uncomfortable. So I'm wondering, how are you with this next step?
Well, sometimes I'm scared shitless.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm extremely excited.
Yep.
You know, sometimes I'm thinking and wondering about how this is going to work logistically, and then I have to remember that the whole point of this is to leave and allow it to unfold. And so it's like, I feel like one of the things I've kind of learned about fear and pain and all those kinds of things is, it's most that, you know, it's like sort of acknowledging that it's there. But I am aware when I'm in a place of fear. And one of the things I feel like one of the outcomes of the transformations that I've experienced is that I do not make any decisions when I'm in that place. Like I know better. And so, and it's like kind of leaning in as far as not really, it's knowing the fear's not real, but just sort of allowing the sensation to be there. And I find that when I can sit with the sensation, it dissipates a lot faster than when I'm trying to avoid the sensation, you know,
exactly. When we try to push it away, that's when it starts to really get us.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I just want to like make sure everyone heard that sometimes she is scared shitless.
Oh yeah.
So am I, and so are we all. I mean, can we all own that there are times when things are really scary, but in the name of that, in the name of feeling the fear and just not allowing it to consume us or stop us, but to just, like you said, to just kind of stop and be and allow it to go through you, that's when things can really open up. But you know, that's what this show was about, is to say, hey, you know, here you are, Anastasia, you are such a powerhouse and making such amazing things happen for all the people in your life. And sometimes you are scared too. And I think it's important for people to know that just because you're so evolved, and I will say that because you are, it doesn't mean that you're immune to feeling. You are still embodied, as we all are. So tell us about your website. Tell us about your video series that you want to. I know, like, I think I need to make this show longer. This is just not enough time. But please let us know.
Okay. Well, first of all, just to respond, thank you for that. And it's and again, I think I just say one last myth is that being evolved means that you're not going to feel everything. I think really all that being evolved means is that you don't resist what is. That's really it. Yeah. So so she put my website on the chat, which is the, you know, if you want like a URL without dashes in it, it's badassmiracles.rocks. I found that URL and I loved it.
Nice.
So, and you can see, you know, if you have some interest in learning more, you know, read my homepage. It'll take you all of about 60 seconds, not very long. And, you know, really what we're talking about, what I ultimately do is help you experience a freedom, which is that there's nothing worse than having a dream and not feeling like you can do it. So we shift that. Yep. And once you know you can do it, you can do anything. And I am walking around doing that, and it's amazing. So when you see on the homepage, there's a couple of options there. So you can just have a session with me, which is fine if you want to talk about working together. Underneath that, there's also a free video workshop link if you want to, get your feet wet in the world of Anastasia a little bit more. The workshop is kind of me hybriding my business thing with the miracle thing, and but it's a really good, like, 3 videos on a lot of really profound spiritual teachings I think you'll really like. And then I also have a blog with some stuff up there, so you can check that out too. So just, whatever tickles your fancy, but it's all right there at the bottom of the homepage. So just give it a read and take whatever action is feeling yummy. And there you go.
Thank you. Thank you. So definitely go check her out. She has a lot of goodies, and she's an amazing leader and an amazing coach if you're looking for somebody to hold that space for you as you do this journey. So thank you guys for being here today. I mean, to me, like, some of the powerful words that just keep popping up through this time together is trust, allowing, flow, surrender, and love. I mean, if we could really allow the love in and to just embrace that, wow. I mean, what would our life look like? What would your life look like?
Yeah.
What would your life look like if you could really feel that love all the time? Now, granted, it's not about all the time because we're human beings. Shit happens. But to be able to be conscious and to be aware and to have these tools so that we really can just flow. So thank you, Anastasia, for being here.
Thank you, Junie. Thank you, everyone who was here live and everyone who's listening to the replay. And hope to see you soon.
Yes, to everybody
on
else.
the road, miracle tour coming to a town near you.
Yes, that's true. She's coming around, guys. All right. Be well, everyone. Tell your friends about Life Out Loud and be well.
Bye.
Bye.